move by Tesla on Monday morning, October 25th. We want to talk about this. It's driven by the news that Hertz is buying 100,000 cars and using Tom Brady as an anchor for the marketing campaign. Hertz is entering the electric car rental business at scale, which is huge. We believe that there is a lot of positives here, and the market is usually right in situations like this. This is a new situation. This is something where the collective wisdom of the market actually is much better at pricing a stock than individual people. And that's why a lot of people, including Elon Musk, actually scratched their head. Why is my stock up so much based on this news? We're going to try to explain that in this episode. But most importantly, in this episode, we want to talk about iteration. The cost of iteration is inversely correlated to the rate of disruption. So the higher the rate of disruption, the lower the cost. In other words, if you can lower the cost of iteration, you can increase the rate of disruption. And Tesla is actually a perfect example of how this works. There was actually some bad news over the weekend about their full self-driving release 10.3 or something like that, 10.03 or 3, I'm not sure. It is the latest release, and it wasn't very good, so they had to withdraw it, go back to 10.2, and fix the bugs. And this is a perfect example of how Tesla is iterating. This is a Not Even Wrong podcast. It's October 26, 2021. This is Krim Telco. Since the last update, our fund is up 13.2%. The market's up 30 basis points. For the year, we are up 37.2%. The market's up 20%. We're outperforming by 17.2%. Like I said in the prelude, it's driven by Tesla. Tesla had a big move on Monday, driven by the news that Hertz is buying 100,000 cars for their rental business, 100,000 Teslas for their rental business. Now, I want to go into a couple of explanations for why this is massive. But first and foremost, this is not about volume. Tesla is production constrained, so we don't need more demand. This is not the point. The point is threefold. Number one, we have the first company at scale entering the business-to-business market with Tesla. So meaning buying cars for business purposes, not for consumer purposes. This is the first large business which is buying Teslas. So that is in itself, of course, good news, because that means the company is vetted, the cost of ownership, and a lot of arguments that we've been making for years now that, for example, Uber drivers should think about buying a Tesla and so on and so forth. And I think this will trigger that exact situation where we'll see, let's say, more Uber drivers buying now Teslas, because the cost of ownership are just much, much lower, in particular now with all the energy prices going up so much. And even though electricity is going up too, it's going up much less than gasoline. I think the second reason is we have a massive opportunity here for business-to-business reselling. So, for example, the FSD can be also rented through Hertz. So Hertz could be a vehicle for enticing people to use FSD. For example, you can rent it for a day or a week, just with your car for, I don't know, $50 per week or something like that. Cheap price, particularly in today's environment where you pay easily $100 for a rental car, and then you pay another $20 for insurance and things like that. You could have FSD added for $5 a day. You could also have Tesla insurance added and much better rates because of all the data that Tesla has. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to lower the cost of ownership and lower the cost of rental for Hertz, and therefore also for the customers of Hertz. This is, I think, a very, very large opportunity, because this is also an ability for Tesla to iterate around the Hertz business here and try new things at a massive scale with a customer base which is a little bit different than the traditional Tesla customer base. So this is a great opportunity, again, for Tesla to use customers, paying customers, as lab rats, actually, to figure out new businesses, of course, all within the context of safety. Third, I think what's important here is just the effect that, for example, somebody like Tom Brady has. He is the marketing anchor for this campaign. I think it opens up the door and the window for new customers that maybe wouldn't have bought a Tesla before or weren't interested in electric cars. And like we've seen many, many times before, once you sit in a Tesla, you just don't want to ever change again. This is just as a side note, also comparable to, let's say, when Apple started selling iPhones to corporations or iPads, it just became a much more established business and drove volumes and those sort of things, which are, of course, key. So these are, I think, the three main reasons why we believe this Hertz news is a massive positive for Tesla. And we should think about this also in the context of the potential. So this is not just about 100,000 cars. Again, this is about the potential to iterate around this business, around the rental car business, around a use case which is relatively new. For example, people were talking also about robotaxis. I don't even want to go that far right now. We don't need robotaxis to make the Tesla use case for Hertz work. And by the way, when I say work, I always, of course, mean both ways, for Hertz and for Tesla. This is a mutual relationship. This is a mutual gain. This is a win-win for everybody, the customer, Hertz, and Tesla. Me as a customer, I'd be happy to fly to Texas or Salt Lake City or Florida and just rent my Model 3 there and use my account to charge and maybe have my FSD also attached to it if I have it, or if not, use it, try it, see how it is, to use the self-parking feature, the stop sign feature, and then, like I said, Tesla can iterate around, for example, renting out the FSD for a day, or maybe just renting out certain functionality. And this is a great opportunity for Tesla to iterate. I want to make the purpose of this particular podcast, this episode, actually not about the Hertz news. This is just something, of course, I have to mention because we had a massive move, a double-digit % move in Tesla, the largest dollar move ever in the stock. What we want to talk about is iteration. And this is based on another piece of news that came out on the weekend, and it actually was bad news. Tesla released another iteration of their full self-drive suite, and actually wasn't very good. People had issues. People had problems on the highway. There were emergency brakes and things like that. I don't know the details. All I know is from the news that I read that they had to withdraw it, pull it back, put the lower version, so the 10.2 or 10.02, I'm not sure, the version before, back into production and operation, and fix the bugs. And this is just a great example of how Tesla is operating, because like we said many times before on this podcast, the cost of iteration is key when it comes to disruption. You have to lower the cost of iteration. You have to be able to iterate at scale and have to do it in a way so it's not very expensive, so you can do it many, many times. Elon Musk, of course, is showing that perfectly and visually with Starship, where he blows up the ship just to learn and then fix it and all that stuff. And we have the same thing here. It's been said many times before, we're not reinventing the wheel here by saying that Tesla is using the fleet to iterate, to learn, to make the software better, and just nobody else can do that. And I think this is a great example of how Tesla is doing that. Now, we've spoken about the problems with NHTSA and the NASB and all these agencies which are supposedly trying to keep safety on the road. Now, I have to say two things here. Number one, they will be hostile to Tesla. We know that by now. Missy Cummings is hostile, and everybody else in that whole sort of Washington, D.C. / highway administration space is going to be hostile because the political reasons, the Biden administration, the unions, they will try to slow Tesla down when it comes to software, because they have absolutely understood that this is sort of the golden goose which is going to kill the car industry. The software business is by far the most important driver. It is even more important than the total cost of ownership or the sexy look of Tesla cars or whatever else Teslas have to offer and make them so enticing. The fact that you can have self-driving software, which is relatively low cost and so much more useful than anything else in the market, will drive demand for Teslas, will create network effects for Teslas, and will make it impossible for competition to catch up. This is the fundamental reason why the Biden administration is being hijacked by the unions to use people like Missy Cummings to slow Tesla down, maybe even try to stop them, but certainly try to slow them down. Now, having said that, I also want to say that I find it very hypocritical by people like the NASB or Missy Cummings and all these people who talk about safety on the highway when we have 35,000 deaths today with traditional cars, while we have a much better statistical performance by the Tesla full self-drive or without full self-drive, whatever it is, the safety of the cars is much, much better. And also, given the fact that we have the ability to iterate and learn faster with FSD, it is also a much better way to actually make, let's say, driving assist software safer. So instead of trying to slow Tesla down, they should, if they were really interested in safety for the people that drive on highways, they should be even more all over Tesla in terms of helping them, trying to learn from them and do what they're doing and try to transfer knowledge that into the rest of the car industry. Because again, we have 35,000 deaths per year on American roads already. So if NHTSA and NASB and all these other agencies are so concerned about highway safety, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing something about those deaths? We are by far the highest death per car, per capita, whatever you want, in the world, at least in the Western world, much higher than the UK, Germany, and all these other countries that are comparable. And I think this is the fundamental problem here, that we have an agency that is supposedly trying to increase safety on the roads, is not doing a good job, but is using that particular argument of safety to slow Tesla down. By now, we know it is political, and we also hope that Tesla is acting accordingly, meaning, for example, hiring the right lawyers, hiring the right legal defense against the attacks which will be coming from the centrally planned National Highway Safety Administration and whatever else there is surrounded, like the NASB, which is some sort of advisory committee for the NHTSA, and all these people, including the Biden administration. Unfortunately, it is what it is. This podcast certainly is not supposed to be a political podcast. But I have to say the biggest risk right now for Tesla as a shareholder and as a believer in the mission of Tesla, which is accelerating the advent of autonomy and sustainable energy, this mission is actually mostly under threat by the Biden administration and the union-leaning people that are seemingly coming out of the woodwork and taking over agencies and so on and so forth. It's not just in the self-driving space. It's also, let's say, in the banking space, which is a completely different industry. But even there, we have people being appointed as watchdogs and whatnot. That there's this lady. She is apparently actually a Leninist or a communist. That her PhD thesis at the University of Moscow was about how to nationalize banks and things like that. I'm just feeling that the Biden administration is increasingly hostile to business, to free enterprise, to iteration and choice. They are trying to put the economy into some sort of static wait-and-see approach to give their constituency, which is primarily unions and related parties, a chance to somehow gain time because they are losing out in this race for, let's say, in the car industry or in the banking industry. We have similar issues there with all the fintech companies disrupting the banking industry. So you have pretty convoluted situation there. I don't want to talk about the banking industry here, so let's not go there. This is a can of worms. I don't want to open. Let's stay with the car industry and Tesla. So to summarize, we believe that the risk from the Biden administration as far as slowing down Tesla and FSD is very high. Having said that, we're very happy with the approach that Tesla is doing and extremely happy also by having a good example, seeing an example in front of us, how Tesla is iterating at speed, at scale, and lowering the cost of iteration when it comes to full self-drive, deployment and technology. The learnings that they're having from this type of approach are much better than anybody else in the competition can ever dream of, which is good. It also helps Tesla to get faster to results, meaning a functioning suite, software suite that actually delivers against the objectives. And having said all of that, now to finalize also the move in the stock, Tesla is now over $1 trillion in market cap. People are scratching their heads, asking themselves, why is that the case, including Elon Musk. We believe at Orange Capital Partners that this is absolutely the way the markets work. The way the markets work is they price these types of events like that, the Hertz news that I spoke about, they price them in, and they're always being underestimated. We always underestimate the impact of technology, the impact of disruptive change in the long term. We might overestimate it in the short term, but we do underestimate it in the long term. Market is a long-term weighing machine. So the market is going to weigh this particular event much more accurately than, let's say, individual analysts will do. And that's why we have this massive price move and Tesla over $1 trillion in market cap, because like I said, there are all these opportunities for iteration, all these opportunities for improving against let's say in the software business, in the insurance business. So this is not just about volume and sales. In fact, that will be the least reason why you want to buy the stock now based on this news, because we're production constrained anyway. Why we're buying the stock is because this Hertz news is opening up new doors for iteration, new doors for innovation, and therefore new products and services that Tesla can bring to the market. Thank you.